It's Thursday, September 23rd, 2010. I'm Kevin McShann, and this is the McShann Sports Beat Report. When a contract dispute between a player, his team, and his agent is fueled by tension and compounded by inflated egos, the volcano of disaster will eventually erupt. For San Diego Chargers wide receiver Vincent Jackson, his relationship, along with his contract status with the Chargers, has apparently reached the point of no return. The Chargers have rejected numerous trade offers for the holdout wide receiver over the last several weeks, and now they've let Wednesday's NFL trade deadline come and go without making a deal. The NFL and the NFL Players Association had agreed upon a 4 p.m. Eastern Time deadline for San Diego to trade Jackson. However, that did not occur. He is also under a 3-game suspension for past DUI offenses and for not signing his restricted free agent tender with the Chargers. He was also subject to miss 3 more additional games. By allowing Wednesday's deadline to pass, San Diego will now keep Jackson on the exempt list. He is still eligible to be traded by October 19th, the date of the NFL's trade deadline. According to Jackson's representatives, they had several deals on the table in order to pry Jackson out of San Diego. However, the Chargers were unwilling to lower their high demands and compensation for dealing Jackson. Thus, no deal was ever consummated. We had multiple offers, but the Chargers squashed them all, said Jonathan Feinstead, one of Jackson's agents. According to ESPN's senior NFL writer John Clayton, the Minnesota Vikings were willing to part with a second-round draft pick in order to acquire Jackson's services. Jackson had also reportedly worked out a new contract with Minnesota. However, A.J. Smith, the general manager in San Diego, refused to budge. from his high demands. Smith stipulated earlier this offseason that he's only willing to deal Jackson if he can get equal value in return, and is only willing to deal with teams of his choosing. According to Clayton, the Vikings called every 3 days in order to express their interest in Jackson and to find out just what it would take to pry him away from San Diego. Clayton says that Smith was willing to accept anything from a second to a 4th-round pick, knowing that Jackson would only be available for a maximum of 12 games, and that he could also face a lengthy suspension if he was convicted or had another DUI. With Pro Bowler Sidney Rice sidelined for at least another month, and reigning Offensive Rookie of the Year Percy Harvin not practicing on Wednesday, the Vikings are left with only 4 healthy wide receivers, none of whom have been productive in 2010. According to Clayton, the Chargers were prepared to relinquish Jackson's rights and send him to Minnesota if the Vikings were willing to sign him to a 1-year deal worth $6 million, with the Chargers receiving either a 2nd or 4th-round draft choice as compensation. However, Clayton says the price was too steep for the Vikings, and they were unwilling to part with the draft picks. Feinstein was critical of Smith's handling of his client's situation when he appeared on the Doug Gottlieb show on Wednesday to discuss the contract status of his client. He says that Archie Manning was right, referencing a comment he made during the 2004 NFL draft when Manning's son Eli was drafted by the Chargers. They call him the Lord of No Rings for a reason, Feinstein said. Had a deal been agreed to by both parties, Jackson would have been placed on NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell's exempt list for 3 games, effective Week 2, which would have essentially rolled 6 games of suspension down to 4. Neil Schwartz, another one of Jackson's agents, says it's highly unlikely that his client will play for the Chargers this season under the conditions of his current contract tender with San Diego. Not now, not ever, Schwartz said. He's got nothing with Coach North Turner. He loves the city of San Diego, and he loves catching the ball from Phillip Rivers, he said. Rivers says he would welcome his All-Pro wide receiver back at any time, but he says if an agreement can't be worked out between Jackson and the Chargers, he wishes his teammate well. I wish him all the best. I'd love the opportunity to throw to him again. But if that's not the case, I want it to work out for him, Rivers said. Jackson's original 5-year contract expired at the end of last season. However, because of the uncapped year, he needs a total of 6 years to become an unrestricted free agent instead of 4. Unhappy about not receiving a long-term commitment from the Chargers, Jackson refused to sign his $3.268 million tender he was offered by San Diego this offseason. Vincent Jackson has certainly established himself as one of the most talented and gifted wide receivers we have in the game today, and he certainly is deserving to be compensated for his accomplishments and productivity on the field. The Chargers will certainly miss his dynamic playmaking ability as they attempt to capture yet another AFC West crown. As for Smith and Jackson, that situation appears headed for a divorce, with neither side willing to blink from their demands, which will force both of them to adopt the mantra, the show must go on. Kevin McShann, Sports Beat, reports.